Welcome back. We're doing more white FD stuff, JDM right hand drive FD stuff. So the car is gone. It's on its way to paint, so the engine bay can be presentable and beautiful for what will become of this thing here. So we got the motor on the ground, fully assembled. As you can see, all the parts are on there. Yes, I did cut the downpipe off. It's a long story, I don't want to get into it, but just trust I didn't have a choice. Anyway, so the goal for today is to completely tear this thing down right to the bare keg, because what we have to do is prepare it for its new life as a single turbo, upgraded fuel, updated ignition machine, you know, new AC, all that kind of stuff. It's got to be fully prepped. So we're tearing down to the bare keg. We're gonna clean it, and then we're gonna paint basically everything. So you'll get to see my painting process on how I do it, basically for how I did it, I should say, for the blue one, the red one, and then of course for the Integra as well. For anyone who's been in this stage before, with the fully assembled REW in stock form sitting in front of you like this, it can be a little intimidating. You know, like you see, it's just a million things just packed on more things. There's wires and hoses and just like stuff everywhere. All of it needs to come off. But it's like, okay, you look at this and it's like, where do you start? Well, the answer to that is wherever you want. There is no one right way to tear these things down in this form. Sometimes it's easier for people to like take the turbos off and then take the intake manifold off, and or sometimes take the intake manifold off, take the turbos off, or take the water pump off, take the alternator off. Who knows? It's really all personal preference, and honestly, it doesn't matter. Like when you get your burger, like, okay, they cut it in, you know, a diagonal instead of in half. Like, bro, you're gonna eat it and turn it into poop. Like, what does it matter how it was cut? So, same mentality applies here. It's all gonna turn to poop in the end, so it really doesn't matter where you start or how you do it. So, I'm not gonna show you guys motor teardown process. If you want to see that, I have a video here that shows that process. Very beautiful time lapse from a long time ago, but it's going to be that process over again. So if you're interested in watching that, you can go ahead and check that out there. But in the meantime, we'll be disassembling this in comfort without having to stare at the camera while I do it. So we'll be back. Table full of garbage, all of it. Trash. Not really, some of it's trash, but a lot of it is also trash. Anyway, motor is torn down to the keg. Flywheel's not off because Big Bad Snap-on could not beat the flywheel nut, which is fine. We'll deal with it some other time. It doesn't need to be off right now anyway. In fact, it doesn't need to come off at all. Lying, it does. We got a new flywheel, ACT, lightweight. Hey-o. So check this out. Paper lower intake manifold gasket was a thing for the FD for some time. But they got away from this eventually, and then all of these became metal. So here's the issue with the paper intake manifold gaskets. This isn't unique to the FD at all. But what happens to paper as it gets hot and all this other stuff starts to happen to it is it turns into cardboard, and it loses all elasticity, so that it simply just does not seal very well or at all. And in addition to that, it makes it prone to blowing out. So say we just slapped a turbo on this motor with this paper intake manifold gasket, 99,000% chance, as soon as we hit boost, 14, 15, 20 psi, whatever, a piece of this gasket would come out and have a massive intake leak somewhere here. Issues that can cause all of them. This is why it's so important to do these things when you're looking to do these things. You know, like this is something that you can see while the motor is all assembled and in the car, but it's kind of hard, you know. But it's better that we did this. And then in addition to that, it had a paper oil pan gasket, which isn't necessarily bad, but modern engine builders, as far as I know anyway, I haven't seen anybody really using these things, and I think that's for good reason. There's no evidence that the oil pan was actually leaking, which is pretty cool. I mean, if Mazda put this motor together, then they know what they're doing. Parts wise, everything pretty much came off the way it was supposed to. Turbos, some stuff broke, which was expected. It all came out as, I pulled it out as one assembly. So intakes, Y pipe, actuators, the whole shebang. I just pulled it out as one assembly. It was just easier to do. But yeah, that came out. Power steering stuff, intake, blah 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 blah. Everything came out the way it was supposed to. So the next move is to sift through this, divide it up into what we're not using versus what we are using. And I can tell you right now, the only things we're using: water neck, power steering AC bracket, upper lower intake manifold, motor mounts. Oh, and the alternator. All the rest of this, junk. Absolute trash. We are keeping the wire harness. I'm lying. We're keeping the wire harness. I'm going to delume this. I'm going to delete all the emissions crap, rewrap it very, very nicely, and that's what we're going to use. I'm also going to reroute it so that it sits cleaner on top of the motor, because its OEM path is fine, you know, but for what we're doing, we're not cool with that. I also want to make note with the clutch. It was on its way out. So this clutch 100% would not have held that power, or if it would have, it wouldn't have been for very long. The rivets are almost flush with the face of the disc. So in addition to that, if you guys are out there trying to single turbo your FDs and you think that you're just gonna slap a turbo on whatever this is in your engine bay, that's the recipe for disaster. Don't do that. I'm not saying you got to pull the motor out and do all the stuff that's happening right now, although it is preferred, but slapping a turbo on your motor without like doing anything is dumb. So don't do that. You know, there's ways to set yourself up. People say, oh, the car is unreliable. Well, it's unreliable because you slapped a huge turbo on a tired motor. Anyway, rent concluded. So look, here's the deal. This is all done. That was the goal that I wanted to hit for today. What are we gonna do next? So, like I said, we gotta sift through all this stuff, decide what we're gonna use, what we're not gonna use, huck this, do that, whatever. And then we get into cleaning. We have to clean all of the things that we are going to use, to include the motor itself. And then we have to prep it and paint it. And I'll show you how I do that without actually disassembling the motor. So the same process I use to paint this stuff, which the intake here, intake there, the valve covers, the intake manifold here, you see the difference between painted and unpainted. The inner intake manifold, I painted that way. On this car, the upper intake manifold, I painted that back in like 2012, something like that. The alternator, the water pump housing, and of course the motor itself. You can't really see it, but you can also really see it. But I have a process, you know, and I have a process of painting these things. It's not automotive grade paint or anything like that, but it does come out really nice. It's very durable, and just the process we're going to use. Oh, same thing on the Integra. I didn't show that, but same stuff on the Integra. So it's all going to come out very nice. But anyway, that's it for this one. Short, to the point, I hope. Like I said, if you want to see the teardown process along with going through each and every single one of these parts and this, that, and third, watch that video I pointed to early on, and it goes through the whole process. So I don't want to repeat it. You know, it's kind of boring. But if you want to know, it's not boring. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Full Detail Automotive. Next time.